Welcome, Irene, here to We Empower, our radio show. Irene, award-winning digital strategist, diversity champion. Irene, you sorted out for you, man in the mirror. Welcome here.
Hello, everyone.
So, but with Man in the Mirror, I always get goosebumps. And if I should think about a line which catches really the song for me, it is this: if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. What brought you to this song, Irene?
Yes, it's an older song, but I really love it. And it's still up to date. It's like an evergreen
Yes.
because if you just look at the title, because we in our society, we always tend to complain about everything, right? And
Yes.
always expect others to take this first step, to make the
Mhm.
first move. But what if we look at ourselves and
Yeah,
make the starting point,
exactly.
right?
And it's so many people which think that they do this, but they don't do. There is so much in themselves about being
Mhm.
jealous against others, saying,
Yeah.
oh, what do they have, what I don't have? And this view in the mirror, you're so right. It is really evergreen and more important than ever. Irene,
Absolutely.
you have a long, long journey behind you. And I mean, we don't see
Long,
that.
long. Yeah.
Of course, the wrinkles are missing for this long journey, but you have a long journey. You built bridges for generations from different countries. What pivotal moments in your life led you to transition from working with companies like BMW and Amazon to focusing on your passion for community building and corporate influencer strategy, but also diversity management with a very special focus in this diversity
Mhm.
management?
Absolutely. I'll try to keep it short. However, two people who actually motivated me to finally
Hmm.
take this step. First, it was my mom, and then a good friend of mine.
Hmm.
I had a situation. He came from the US and visited me, and we went for lunch.
Hmm.
After that, we drank a tea and a coffee in the lobby of the company I used to work for
Hmm.
in the past. And he always knew that I wanted to do something on my own, to start a own company.
Yeah.
I always had that dream, that passion for that. And then he said something very interesting to me. He said, like, when are you finally doing it? Because you know what? I'm afraid
Very
that
important
you,
point.
yes, exactly. He said, I'm afraid you might lose your angel wings if you don't do it soon.
Wow,
Wow.
that's a
And
great sentence.
yes, exactly. And my mom also, it was before Christmas.
Yeah.
I spoke to her and I said, like, shall I really do it? Is it the right time? And she said, like, my little girl, you have two options. When you come over on Christmas, you will be quiet and don't talk about it anymore because you decided to remain in the corporate world. Or you decide to start your own business and you are my happy little girl during Christmas. So I chose the latter one
To take
because
on
it
the
was
angel wings.
angel wings, exactly, and be the happiest version of myself ever. And to be
Right.
honest, because many people always wait for
Yeah.
tragedy or a negative coincidence to make
Hmm.
a change. In
Yeah.
fact, I was happy where I was, but still I wasn't pursuing my passions. So I wasn't in pain at all to leave the company. However, I was in pain of not pursuing my passion. You get my
Yeah.
point?
I
And so
absolutely
this
get
is
it. And it's great that you're describing this because a lot of people think that it's necessary to have this pain point. It is not necessary because if you reach this pain point, you're already far also with illnesses, with psychosomatic things and diseases, with days and moments of being unhappy. It is not necessary. You are so, so
no,
right.
absolutely, because time is your most precious resource.
Yeah.
Why waste it for something that you don't actually want to do?
Yes, exactly. You're so, so right. And that's also something what I like so much about you. You're taking your chances. You have been named of one of the top 25 future makers in Germany. How did the recognition shape your mission and vision? Maybe
Mhm.
you want to share also a concrete story, a concrete moment with us.
Yeah. I'm still absolutely thrilled. I get goosebumps when I hear that, um, because this title is so huge, and there comes a certain responsibility with it, right? This
Right,
is the way
absolutely.
I consider it, because not everyone is named like 25 top future makers.
No, just
And
25 can be there.
exactly, very good. Now, when this got announced, um, I was sitting in the metro,
Hmm.
trying not to scream out loudly. But everyone could tell from her face, and people smiling at me or nodding at me without knowing what happened, because I was just so in myself, and probably my expressions. It's so like I'm the luckiest girl or woman right now in the mo at that moment.
And
And
you
what
say
was
it comes with a responsibility. What exactly? Can you share this with us? What it means in concrete?
Yes, absolutely, because it was the title from the Business Insider,
Hmm.
and we got a bit of press. Of course, if people look at you and say like, "Oh, she has been named among the 25 future makers," they expect something from you. Of course, they will say like, "Okay, what has she done in the past?" Obviously, that's the reason why she got nominated or awarded. But still, what are the next steps for her to go? At least
Hmm.
this is the way I consider it. I don't see like, okay, I won this pricing, now I can rest my back. No, I say like, now once I've got it, I have to prove it and to say like,
Hmm.
okay, what I'm doing in fact has an impact. And I started this initiative to stay for longer and
Hmm.
not just like a 1 minute thing.
Yeah, that's very good. So, I mean, you know a lot about community building. You're a networker,
Mhm.
I'd say, by heart. What role do communities play in creating resilient, inclusive brands, and how have you seen companies transform through authentic community building strategies?
Yeah. I think that communities are the most important thing ever. When we had Corona, we noticed it, how important it is that people across the world connect with one another.
Hmm.
And relating it to companies, nowadays, customers or in general, the public wants to connect with brands, want to feel related to it. I think the best example is, for example, Apple. Another good example I like as well is Harley Davidson or
Hmm.
several social impact initiatives like UNICEF and so on. I'll tell you why. Because Apple, for example, it's not just about the product, it's like some sort of lifestyle.
Exactly,
Apple products
completely.
are like your best friends or
Hmm.
a family member.
Hmm.
And that's the way people want to feel nowadays.
Hmm.
And try to do this exercise. When you enter in the search bar on Google,
Hmm.
brand communities, most of the times, Harley Davidson will pop up.
Hmm.
Why? Just imagine you going out with your friends, um, and having a couple of drinks, and a group of Harley Davidson fans come across. And it's most very obvious because for them it's a lifestyle. You can see it through their appearances
Yes.
and the way they're dressed up.
Hmm.
Just try to go over to one of that person and say like, Harley Davidson sucks. I think you won't get back home safely. At least you will land at the hospital. Why? Because they are so connected to this brand. They love that brand, and
Yeah.
nobody can interfere.
Hmm. Exactly. It's something like a family for them. It's a home for them. Um,
Exactly. So they people want to feel what is the company about behind that logo? What is the mission? What is the vision? And what kind of values do those companies pursue?
yeah.
And there comes the power of community in
Hmm.
place because those people will stay forever with you if you
Yeah.
have a strong community, if they feel closely connected to you as a brand. And it's so important and will even be more important in the future when
Yes.
all the traditional activities on social media will change or shift in a certain way.
What do you think, and which way will they shift? You, as a not only networker, but also social media face, and somebody who knows about trends, especially also in diversity and technology.
I think that nowadays um, people want to be connected with like-minded people who
Hmm.
share the same interests, same objectives, same values. And social media is getting more and more crowded,
Hmm.
and you are prone to content that is most of the time irrelevant to you. So people are turning more and more into communities. And we are
Hmm.
also observing a revival of newsletters. Funny, right? We thought
Yeah.
like it was gone, but this is
Yeah.
in fact, yes, it's getting a revival. Why? Because people want to be part of exclusive networks, want to be want to have more engagement, more
Hmm.
interaction,
Hmm.
and strive for authenticity. And this is what you can get within a community. So for all personal brands out there and creators, also companies, making that possible will be absolutely, yeah, a changeover for them in the future and
Yeah.
make them more successful.
Yes, exactly. What inspired you to launch a joint generation initiative? And can you share a memorable story of this impact?
Mhm. To be honest, it was just
Be
like a
honest,
gut
please.
feel. Yes, of course. It was just a gut feeling. I
Hmm.
can't tell you like, oh, there was a specific situation I have to do it. No, but
Yeah,
I felt somehow the urge.
it has to.
Yes, thereafter, while people always kept asking me, I was thinking myself, why, how come, in fact? And then
Yeah.
I realized back then, when I was a little child, we lived next to an elderly care home.
Hmm.
And I was sitting there at the park bench and always talking to grand grandmas and grandfathers, because I didn't have those, because we
Yeah.
immigrated from Africa, Germany. So I didn't grow up with grandparents, and I
How
always
old were you?
envied.
How old were you
Uh,
when you immigrated?
I was 5 years old.
Oh, and do you have still some relatives in Africa or maybe also
Yes,
grandparents?
most of them. No, in fact, only from my father's side.
Oh,
From my mother's side, they died when I was a little baby. So,
oh, what a
but
shame.
still,
It's so important
mm,
for kids, isn't it?
yes, that's why I envied my classmates. No, because they
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I spent the weekend with my grandparents. I
Yeah.
have a grandmother who bakes cakes for me, and
Yeah,
I also wanted to
exactly.
have a grandma who
I also
bakes
want to
cakes."
have cakes and
Exactly.
cuddle and have this
Yes,
love without anything you have to give back, right?
absolutely. And then it happened to be that my sister and my mother
Yeah.
also work in the elderly care sphere. My
Oh,
mom not
right.
anymore, but my sister, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So there are many different aspects that come together. And
Mhm.
later on, when I studied, I had as one of my majors human resources management.
Ah, in your
And
studies, I thought you were a business engineer.
yes, but one of my majors was still human resource
That is
management.
great.
Yes, because we
Speaks for your studies.
and we were supposed to write an essay. So I
Okay.
made the proposal to write about age diversity
Yeah.
as challenges for human resources department.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
But you know what my professor said? He said, like, why this topic? It's totally not sexy at all. Um, it suits you much better if you talk about culture, migration, and so on. Still, I did it. And then
Great.
I also received a great mark. And he said, like, oh, this topic is so exciting. You should follow up on that. I said, oh, what you're not telling me.
So how long did it take until you did the follow-up with
Yes,
also the book
exactly.
you published?
Yes, exactly. It took me, I think, like another 10 years because
Hmm.
I didn't consider this topic anymore. But
Mm.
what I experienced was after my studies, when I started my
Yeah.
career at an automotive manufacturing company,
Hmm.
I was by far the youngest in the department. So I was mid-20.
Yeah.
The next older colleague of mine was 43. So we had an age difference of 18 years. And no matter what I did, I said like, oh, let's tackle this new project. Let's foster this initiative.
Yeah.
Always try to motivate people. They always said like, you know what? You're so young. You still believe you can change the world and do this a couple of years.
Wait.
Yes, exactly. So you won't be motivated anymore. And my career is heading towards an end. I don't need to be motivated anymore. And no one is interested in what I'm doing here. And this really
Yeah.
frustrated me, made
Yeah.
me sad, and irritated me at the same time. I said that I don't want to be like this when I'm 50.
Mm.
I don't want to feel like that. I want to still be motivated, still feel appreciated, and still feel that I can contribute. You get my point?
Exactly.
Particular companies,
Yeah.
this is what we need to look at first. Just to give you an example, there's a headhunter
Hmm.
from my network who said, like, most of the times she proposes candidates who are 50 plus, but the clients say they don't want it, they don't see it, and
Do they know how old they are, Irene, then, or don't they know how old they are?
in this case, of course, because when we're talking about the German speaking area, but still looking at the different stations
Hmm.
in your career, you may assume that somebody has already 20 years of experience or only 2 or 3 years. You get my point? Even though there's no picture, etc. Right? And
Yes.
latest, and when you engage a headhunter, most of the time you will talk to them, yeah, and they will
Hmm.
tell you like, okay, this is this candidate, and so on. And even when and that's the first barrier to
Hmm.
even get invited. That's a big, big issue.
Hmm. That's
And
very right.
yeah, and there are several assumptions. For example, that person is too old, not motivated anymore, will retire soon,
Hmm.
and doesn't want to do any career anymore. And also that there's a belief that people at a certain age are not capable of having possessing certain skills anymore, or
Hmm.
don't even have the motivation or the capability to learn new things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're perceived as being too expensive.
Hmm.
And, but there's one argument I totally dislike. This is this lack of motivation. I said, how can you
Yeah.
dare tell about a person that because of their age that they lack motivation? Why don't you invite those people and ask them?
Hmm.
And this is something with that we often forget in our society. We don't ask any questions anymore. When I see you, I just assume, oh,
Exactly.
she's a woman. She has probably 2 children. I don't know. You know what I mean? Um,
I completely get you because I mean, if you say I have a kid, I mean, who tells the person what exactly? How do you manage the kid? Maybe there's a husband who stays at home. Maybe there's a grandmother who stays at home. Whatever. I mean, who is telling you how exactly it works? But what counts then? Is that what the person itself has in his head? So it's telling more about the person who's judging than about the person
exactly.
he's judging, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a thing that we should always reflect on, right?
Mhm. And this
Um,
is important what you're saying, reflecting. We have again the man in the mirror where we see that we should reflect better, look better at ourselves, right?
yes, and approach people and ask them, are you motivated or not? Exactly, like only that person can tell you. Is
Exactly.
career still important to you or not? You know, and sometimes there are also people who don't have children, but they look after their parents, for example. It always depends on which life stage you are currently at. And it's irrespective of your age. You can be at the same life stage as someone who's 25 or someone who's 60 or whatsoever. And I
Yeah.
also know lots of people who are 25 or 30 who lack the motivation, but no one would tell that
Exactly.
due to their age, right?
Exactly. And then we comes also to important point. I mean, more and more people understand also elderly people, that it's important that you look after your branding or that your that what else other people think about you makes a difference. And of course, in the digital era, personal branding or corporate branding means something. So
Mhm.
how has personal branding from your idea evolved since you first began working in the space? And what advice would you give those starting their own branding journey nowadays?
Mhm. I would say like in the past, I started with this topic like 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, People were less personal, although the term personal branding implies it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all about their business on how to get customers, clients, etc., or how to progress career. It's still about that,
Mm-hmm.
but with a different approach. People show more vulnerability. In the
Mm-hmm.
past, we tend to be very perfect. Everything needs to be
Mm-hmm.
perfect. I need to be a role model, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a different perception of being a role model. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, you can be a role model who has its flaws, who has overcome challenges.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always find a niche for yourself, and people tend to always to look like
Mm-hmm.
what are topics that are trending? Can I follow up on that? But nowadays, people are looking for their own niche, and also much closer to the audience. We can
Mm-hmm.
see that personal branding is not just about I'm posting something,
Mm-hmm.
but everything around it. You can have a podcast, you can write a book,
Mm-hmm.
you can run events, you can run webinars. The term personal branding is much more holistic than in the
Mm-hmm.
past it
Yeah.
used to be. And definitely people like to relate to you, and
Mm-hmm.
people like when you're engaging with them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
um, some sort of the girl next door, so to say, should
Yeah.
be. And this what makes personal brands nowadays. Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
if you ask me like what would be my advice,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's so strange. Most of the time people always say like, um, oh, if I start making myself visible, what will others think?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I'm scared, I'm fearful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I can do that. I don't have the competencies. You know what? I'd answer them. Seriously, stop
Mm-hmm.
bringing your ego into place. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. It's about your audience out there
Mm-hmm.
because they are missing the opportunity to learn from you, from your
Mm-hmm.
expertise,
Mm-hmm.
to have you as a role model.
Mm-hmm.
If you can help out at least one person out there,
Yeah.
your mission is fulfilled, right?
Yes.
And isn't it a pity that you have a certain expertise and a value add that you can give people out there, and you don't take on this responsibility to do so?
Exactly. You're
And
so
that's the way
right.
you should consider it. It's not about you,
Mm-hmm.
it's about the potential that's left outside there. And I can tell from my own story, I was one of the first, probably even the first Black woman
Mm-hmm.
in the German speaking area
Yeah.
creating content on LinkedIn. And so many people told me like, "Hey, you're a trailblazer. You shape the way." In
Yeah.
fact, you get my point.
Absolutely. And you're so right. I'm laughing because you're absolutely right. I read so often posts on LinkedIn where I think, okay, it's about ego. And nobody's interested in that. Or where I think, why are you taking another person, your kid, for example, on the picture? I mean, it's about you, but you as a role model, you with your experiences, you with that pieces of wisdom you can share with us. This is interesting. And the people are, on the one hand, they are so much in their own box, thinking that it is just turning all around them, thinking that everybody's waiting for them and just pouring things out without exactly what we are
Absolutely.
turning, changing the perspective.
Hmm.
I mean, if we talk about this, we talk also about leadership because you said talking about learning. If you learn something, if you reflect, these are two important things which are also part of leadership. What does leadership in new work mean to you as an expert in this field? And how can businesses embrace this concept?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely fantastic that you're mentioning it. New work and leadership. When I started with my companies, Joint Generations and
Mhm,
Entrepreneurs, in terms of corporate influencing and intergenerational collaboration. I considered I'm in the diversity field and I'm in the marketing field.
mhm,
But then once it happened that I got awarded by the Thrive magazine, it's top 10 female leaders
mhm,
in the category of new work.
mhm,
And lots of people started associating my activities with new work, also with leadership. And it was so interesting for me to see that. And it was a total turning point for me. And I said, yes, in fact, they're right. It's not only one-sided, it's only diversity marketing, but if you put it all together, it's I'm working on topics to
Mm-hmm.
see like how we can shape the future of work. How do
Mm-hmm.
we want to work in the future? How do employees need to accommodate to this value shift in the future, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there I see also leadership or leaders, managers, um, as as the glue that is sticking everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
are
Absolutely.
inspirational, who are inspirational, um, and also responsible for putting the human beings in the center
Mm-hmm.
of everything. We
Mm-hmm.
all love technology, digitalization. However, I feel like we're going back to the roots again, that we are considering human beings as the focal point in everything we're doing in the future,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, this is super important. And if we stay at human beings, what are
Hmm.
your personal hacks of staying in you, staying in your intuition, staying in your health, staying in your full power? Can you share some of your daily hacks, but also routines, or which makes you the Irene which you are?
Hmm. Yeah. First and foremost, this is an exercise I would like everybody to do on themselves, on their own.
Yeah.
Um, which is it's part of my so-called soul method.
Hmm.
Um, it stands for SOUL, strength, opportunities, uniqueness, and likings, like passion.
Hmm.
The issue that lots of people, to my mind, are facing nowadays, we are always looking for a job where we either perform very well. I've been
Hmm.
there. In particular, working in the corporate world, I was always striving for success. I was very ambitious.
Hmm.
And then I said, like, okay, but something's missing. I wasn't totally happy.
Hmm.
And then I said, like, no, now I will do everything I'm passionate about. And then I thought,
This is
like,
important.
what's wrong with you, Irene? Why are you still not happy? Because I noticed I did something I'm passionate about, but I
Hmm.
was mediocre. Everyone
Yeah.
else was better, and I wasn't performing.
Hmm.
So then I came to the conclusion I have to find something where both comes together. I'm
Yeah.
passionate about it, and I had the strength for that.
That's super
Exactly.
important. That is super important.
And one hack that I apply every day, I will
Mhm.
tell you after the commercials.
Okay, so we say goodbye and thank you very much to Irene. It was a pleasure to have you here, and thank you for the engaging discussion and inspiring insights. I look forward to our ongoing exchange outside from the radio show and the impact we will continue to make together a world worth living in. Thank you so much for being here with us, Irene.
Thank you too. It was my pleasure.